Hello and welcome to all of our Gold viewers who are here with us today. My name is Kristen Schwartz. I'm a licensed midwife and MC here at Gold. And today I have a special guest here. It's Fiona Hallinan. Welcome, Fiona.
Hi, Kristen. Lovely to be here.
It is lovely to have you here because, Fiona, right, we are in preparation of a very special day that we're celebrating here at Gold, the International Day of the Midwife on May 5th. And you are our keynote speaker, our presenter for our presentation that is open access for everyone. So we are so thrilled to have you here today and talk to you.
Thanks so much. I'm delighted to be part of it and feel very honored to be asked. Thank you.
And Fiona, before we get into a little bit about all the topic and all the other good stuff, first of all, tell our audience where you're located. Where in the world are you?
Well, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So that's in the southern tip of Australia. So everyone thinks Australia's hot, but Melbourne is more temperate, is not so hot down here. I'm not in Queensland that's up north where it's warmer. And I've lived here since I was 18. Before that, I lived in a country area, about an hour and a half, 2 hours from Melbourne. And yeah, I guess I'm a bit boring, really, staying in the one spot.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, we talked about off camera earlier that Australia definitely is on at least my list to visit here. And, you know, I always find it fascinating where our speakers are from because it's so important. You know, this is one part here at Gold. We can get together from all around the world and, you know, be passionate about what we do, you know, about midwifery, about serving families and, you know, bringing those little ones into the world and facilitating that. And no matter where we are in the world, it's so beautiful, and to connect with like-minded professionals in the world, that really always makes me happy.
Yeah, me too. Without doubt, it's extraordinary that we all have there's such a shared passion in the world, really.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. So Fiona, tell me a little bit about your professional background. You've, of course, are a midwife and you've been one for a long time. So tell us a little bit about all the wonderful work you've been doing.
Yeah, well, I trained first as a nurse and I was a very reluctant nurse. I had a boyfriend at the time. I was very disillusioned at university doing science, and he had been a radiographer in a hospital, and he said to me, I was so miserable, and he said, "You'd make a good nurse." And I went, "Really? Never thought of it." Anyway, started nursing, loved it. And then I think I'd never ever thought of doing midwifery. Never. I remember in my nursing training, we had to do a couple of weeks doing in a midwifery area. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I was horrified.
You did?
I remember we were up in this tertiary hospital, and the labour ward was upstairs, up many heights, and the windows looked out over. These windows looked out over a garden. I still remember it. I remember the doctor. I remember the woman. She had blonde hair. This is going back to the early 80s and to the mid 80s, and she was having a third baby, and she was trying to choke her husband, absolutely blasting him that she was in this situation again, trying to get a baby out of her body. And I remember looking out the windows thinking, oh my God, this is terrible.
What did I get myself into here? Yeah.
I'm never going to be a midwife. And she had the baby, no problem. And everyone was very lighthearted about it, except me. I was nearly dying looking out the window. And then it was suggested to me also by another wise person, I think you'd like midwifery. Really? And, yeah, I started it, loved it. So I'm very grateful to those two people in my life for funnily, weirdly directing me to where
where you thought you would never be.
I found my greatest joy. Yeah.
That's sometimes in life that how it goes, right? Like the unexpected, and developing then the passion for it. You are also, of course, a childbirth educator, of course, but you're also a body worker. So tell me a little bit about that, because that's also a fascinating aspect in your career there.
Yeah, well, my mind sort of opened to the area of bodywork. I was first out of my training I trained in a hospital system 89 to 90 in my midwifery, and it was literally in the first few months of being out, there was a workshop on, and I went to it, and it was a wet, cold Saturday, and I went to this workshop, and there was this very unusual lady there who was not a midwife, but she was a body worker. And she absolutely opened my mind to the world of the pelvis. And I remember sitting very deeply in a state of humiliation, thinking, wow, I've got a ticket to practice as a midwife, but I don't know anything. She made me realize what I didn't understand, what hadn't clunked into my knowing about the pelvis. So that really started off a very interesting journey of curiosity. And then one day I thought, I need to get, she taught me a whole lot of information, including baseline information about internal pelvic release work. But back then it was solely for the purpose of reducing the second stage of labor and avoiding trauma to mother and baby. I was very embarrassed with this body of knowledge. I didn't know how to implement it, but I sort of found my little way here, there, and everywhere. And then several years later, I thought, I think I need to study bodywork. I think I need to get more information into these hands. So I did. And I guess I've just continued to be curious, and particularly with the inside of the pelvis, just to keep thinking, what if, maybe, could that help? And studied more anatomy, and it's not been by any set study of information. It's just continuing to, I guess, be curious and opening anatomy books, and perhaps I'd open an anatomy book where someone might open some other book, and just look at things and go, oh wow, look at that, man, that's interesting.
And putting the pieces together almost like a puzzle, it sounds like, right? And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because as midwives, we often think like, what is there possibly that to learn that I don't already know about the pelvis, please? Right? And probably when you were sitting in that first workshop, you probably felt like a little bit of a humbling experience, I can imagine, right? That you was like,
you bet, yeah.
Oh, I'm a midwife, and this what and how it and
I remember two things from that workshop, or three. The amazing aspect of sacral mobility, how beautiful the touch and the warmth and the feel of her hand if she came around and demoed, how much your body just sighed with the touch. And the third thing was, I know jack shit.
Love it. You put it to the point.
Sorry, I shouldn't swear. But it was like, oh golly, I know nothing. Yeah, so it was humiliating.
That's thank you for sharing that and being so honest, because it is quite a being humbled like that, and really, but then sparking also, and you're a curious person, right? Taking that and expanding, going on, studying more and learning more. So absolutely beautiful. So thank you for sharing that. So yeah, let's talk about actually the presentation you have with us here at Gold for the Day of the Midwife, and the soft tissues there of the pelvis. And you have this beautiful title. What is it, Fiona? The issues of the pelvic tissues, right?
Yeah.
And possible solutions.
The issues in the tissues. I love working with the soft tissues, because they do provide this capacity they're capable of change, which means they're capable of more space. And let's face it, the only thing that a mother and baby really need in birth, apart from beautiful care, is space.
Space, yeah.
The child's always looking for the space of least resistance within mother. And sometimes mother isn't aware that she is holding tension of known or unknown origin.
Right.
She just didn't know that which she didn't know. And she just had no idea and hadn't understood that certain potential falls, traumas, habits, hobbies in her life could have led her to a vulnerability in this enormous event in her life called birth. And woman after woman after woman, sit in this room and cry about what happened to me in their birth. How come my body wouldn't open? Why couldn't my baby come through me? What's wrong with me? You know? So it's usually, I'd put at 99% of the time, not that she can't birth the baby, but that she had potentially an issue in the tissue. So the talk is about exploring ways. And I mean, in an hour, we're going to get a snapshot.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
You need a month of Sundays type of thing to go over. And there's so many techniques. There's so many ways. But I wanted to, talk to something that spoke to the tissues, because the tissues actually have their own language and they don't usually include words.
Oh, I love how you put that. You open up my eyes in a totally different way of thinking. The tissues have their own language. I just love that. Yeah.
And sometimes, you work with, there's many women carrying a truckload of trauma from other things in life.
Yeah.
And they've often done a lot of healing work and a lot of different modalities in talk therapies and the like, and all to their absolute credit. But sometimes we've not gone back to the body and said, are you still looking after us since that incident?
Yeah.
But she's healed now.
Yeah.
And so different work involving touch can bring about such a fantastic sigh and releasing tissues that absolutely open up the full capacity of a woman.
Wow.
And we call it anatomical, helping a woman reach her anatomical potential. And there's no end of women that have had, successful experiences with birth once they've understood certain vulnerabilities they hold in their bodies. It's not that it's a black mark against their name and you'll never have enough room. It's that, you hold a vulnerability, therefore there's some really great homework to do.
Interesting. Very fascinating, because you brought up something earlier that I thought, yes, you talked about the healing work that some women have already done and come in with, but they have not done the healing work with their bodies. So they have done it with their brains and their heads and their, that part. But we need to focus back, if I really fully understand you, going also including the body in this healing, and the kind of release there is that's fascinating. Yeah. I think that's do you think it's part of society, or our society in general? We are too much in our heads and neglect our bodies.
Yeah. And we have a society that puts women under no end of pressure about being tight. Oh, everything's got to be tight.
Tight, yes. Tight belly, tight butt, tight everything, You
name it. Everything's got to be tight. And we have a society where we live in a particular way, which involves a lot of sitting. And then in order to compensate that, we go to the gym, or we go to CrossFit, or we do different strengthening work. And terrific, no worries, but we're not working our fibers in their natural flow. And also a lot of modalities are wise. They're doing great work with the body, and strengthening is very important. But if we're not being taught how to release as well as do that, so there's two ends to how a fiber works. They're strong and they're soft. And our world doesn't put any emphasis or any credit in us being soft.
And us being soft. Oh, Fiona, you have such wise words. It's so true. Yes, absolutely. There is no support for being soft. Oh, I will write that down. I tell you, I made myself, I'm gonna make myself a little note saying like, allow yourself to be soft.
Yeah. And soft isn't lazy, and it's
No.
not sloppy. It's just experiencing. And this is where our world is very, in a medical word, stat. We want it stat, everything stat.
Everything.
Come on,
yeah.
bang. Let's bring it about. Let's get that strong. But it takes time for the body to be invited and accept the invitation into softness. And taking time isn't that well received in a stat world.
No, for sure not. For sure not. Yeah. So what do we have to do, Fiona? Spread the word. What do we do? I know we can only do so much learning from you in an hour, but before I let you go here, what do you leave us with? What kind of word of encouragement do you have for us? How can we bring awareness to this?
I think we can all bring awareness. I think we have to, I feel very strongly we have to be educating our young women. Yes. And that's our daughters and anybody we can. It's not just about working our bodies. It's about a deep appreciation of our bodies and our fantastic equipment. And it's all right to be different to people who identify as men. It's all right if you identify differently to a man, to experience things differently. It's not just all about being tight and strong. The tight and strong, tight doesn't let babies into the world that well.
That is true.
And the softness, it basically, the only message really is it's okay to go soft. It is okay. There's a time and a place. There's a time and a place for it. And birth is definitely the place. And it needs practice, it needs patience, it needs repetition, and the brain loves patience and repetition. And of course, the brain works beautifully with the body. So pregnancy is 9 months, I think, for a very good reason. Good 3 months to get over feeling awful. And then, and then please God, it's then 6 months to really work and prepare for this big event, which means understanding softness, understanding release, and doing a lot of homework. And
Fiona, I can only imagine how important that also is for the postpartum. We see these horrific messages. Oh, bounce back, get your body back, bounce back. It's horrible. It makes my heart hurt when I see this, the pressure these women are under, thinking, and I always used to say to my families, well, it took you 9 months to get over 9 months to get, to have this baby. Why would you expect yourself to first of all, there's a new normal, why do why, number one, why do you want that body back again? Because now you have a new, wonderful, different, your body's still the same, but you developed in this wonderful way. And how do you think realistically it is possible that a week after birth, you look already like a teenager again? It's not realistic, but unfortunately, all these women are so, mainly women, pregnant people, birthing persons are under this kind of immense pressure that, the social media and all that holds. Yep. So I think also the message needs to translate also into the postpartum.
Without doubt.
That soft is good,
And that's where, when we understand stuff around anatomy and we understand that post-birth, in the main, the womb weighs a kilo.
Right.
Pick up a kilo of sugar from your cupboard.
Yes.
And feel that, and know that the womb's not swinging in the breeze in the pelvis. She's got support structures.
Yes.
And we overstretch those support structures and we bounce into prolapse.
Yes, a very important point there, right?
And I find that I don't talk so much about when women are wanting to get back. I go very heavy into the vulnerability of these tissues and risk of drooping or levels of prolapse, and saying, come on, do you want to be dancing with your darling without a panty liner or a pad on when you're 60?
Right.
Look after yourself now. And the wise cultures of the world, Vietnamese, Chinese, Indian, oh no, they all sweep on in. They know how to look after that womb. They wouldn't be able to articulate a lot of the time what they're doing, but they sure as heck know that that post-birth woman needs nurturing. And our culture, mine, goes, oh no, take 2 Panadol, I'll get the baby up in the new pram up in the shopping centre. Away you go.
Yeah.
And what's wrong with you? Aren't you feeling good? Are you depressed if you're not? It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's just let that womb settle down so she can show her full creativity and her beauty and her power for the whole of that woman's life, not just for this episode.
Right. Absolutely. Oh, Fiona, it's been a pleasure having you here today, talking to you. I could talk with you for hours. It was absolutely lovely, and I can't even express how happy I am that you are being part of the International Day of the Midwife here at Gold, and I'm looking very much forward to your presentation.
Thanks a lot, Kristen. Me too. Thank you for having me.
And now some information here for our viewers. Of course, the International Day of the Midwife is live on May 5th, and you can find all that and good information on the presentation at goldlearning.com to find out when the presentation is live in your time zone as well. But don't worry, if you cannot attend the live presentation, it will be recorded, so you will be able to watch the presentation at a time that's convenient for you. So I hope to see everyone there, and don't forget to go to goldlearning.com to register. Thank you everyone for watching here, and I hope to see you at the Day of the Midwife. Bye-bye everyone.